Alright, working on Sheldon Lathe steady rest today. Now if you saw the introductory video to the Sheldon Lathe that I hauled home, and I'll throw a card up here above if you haven't seen it already, why it had a steady rest that you saw there. And this is that steady rest after I've stripped the jaws and everything off. It's been through my little solvent tank, and we've got it in two pieces. And we've got a repair here. It's been welded up on the back side, it looks like, and probably some nickel rod there. And the front half has been broken off, so it would have had another ear on the front, and the center would have set in between the two halves. So what's going to happen with this is I'm going to, like I say, it's been through the solvent tank. I'm going to take it up with the sandblaster. We're going to sandblast it off. I'm going to verify the casting numbers on it. And I see some discrepancies when I start looking online at the casting numbers. And this one, the base casting, looks to be an XK-56. That's what I believe it is. Like I say, I'll sandblast them off to verify that that's what it is. This fits the lathe that I'm working on now, which there again is exactly the same as the lathe that I hauled home for all intents and purposes. And it is a early 10-inch XL lathe. I'd originally said it was an EXL. I'm not sure that's correct, but I do believe it's an XL. It has the larger through-hole spindle, and it is the early single lever model. The shifter on it is a single lever rather than the later dual lever that they changed to on the gearbox later on. So I'm fairly certain I have a early 10-inch XL. The experts can chime in all they want, and the reality is I don't care. Not that I'm being argumentative about it, but it doesn't really matter to me at this point in time. So I don't need to delve into it much deeper than that. So there we are. This steady rest fits that lathe. So it's the proper steady rest for both lathes. It's got Sheldon's logo in the center. I can see that already, and I'm pretty sure about this casting number. So anyway, I'm going to take them to the sandblaster. We're going to sandblast them off, and then I'll give you the casting numbers that are on them, if we can read them both, and top and bottom. And I think we're probably going to build a pattern off of this. So we'll start laying that out to build a set of patterns for this. This steady rest is usable condition. It's a little bit ragged, it looks like. The jaws on it are well used and abused. Looks like there's two steel jaws and one brass one. The base clamp is a fabricated clamp. It's been welded up. It looks like it's a piece of 1/4 inch, and we've got a piece of 3/8 welded to the top of it, and then it's slotted. So I'm sure it's functional, but maybe we can do a little bit better than that. The screws on it are in usable condition. They've got little wows to them. They don't thread in nice and straight. They've got a little hula dance to them. But anyway, I'm going to go and we'll sandblast these up and see what they look like. Got our castings sandblasted off. They look pretty good. Here's our base casting. This is an XK-56, and you can see the repair on it here, where they've welded it up, and then, like I say, the front ear is gone. I will probably, since I do plan on using this one, I will probably fabricate a front piece for it, and we'll probably braze it in there, would be my guess as to how I'm going to handle that. And then here's the top half, and that is an XK-576. So we can see the way they go together, right like that. And there we are. So I think we'll go ahead, do a little repair, a little cleanup on this, and then we'll probably paint it up and put this one back into service. Like I say, I think I need a bigger steady rest than what I've got. I need to be able to handle a 2-inch stock for the muller project, sand muller project. So we'll get this one cleaned up and at least get a coat of paint on it and see what we can do to make it useful to get it through this project. So what I'm going to do now is just do a little fairly quickie repair on this. We can see where it's all chipped out. What I'm going to do is just take a piece of cold roll, and we're going to brace it back in place, and then we'll drill it to match, contour the outside a little bit before, and then clean it up. This is just a piece of 1/4 inch cold roll that I've got. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the casting over to the milling machine, and I'm just going to machine a slot out of this, just kind of just along this line someplace, just to get this cracked area out, but also to give me a flat surface here so that the plate that I braze back in will sit flush with that when I clamp it in place. Now I'm not going to get real excited about milling this out. All I'm going to do is grab it here in the vise that's already set up on the table and just mill a flat on there. I'll support the outboards with machinist jack, and I'm probably not even going to show that setup. It's just going to be a quick and dirty thing. And we're going to go back and we'll get this ready. We'll sandblast it one more time where we've machined. Plus I want to get part of this out where it was repaired before. We've got a big hole down in there. And when I heat that, I'm just going to flow a little bit of braze in there. Now there's always the danger when you start reheating these again, especially when I get it up to brazing temperature, that it's going to crack out on this other repair. So we're going to hope that doesn't happen. It looks like it's a fairly good weld. You know, it's got a lot of extra buildup there. So I think it'll probably be fine. We'll just heat it up slowly and then we'll cool it down the same way and just kind of let it cool on its own, and hopefully we won't stress it or relieve any stresses and cause any more cracking on it. So that's the plan. I machined out my little pocket right here, and then I formed me a piece of just standard cold roll. And yes, cast iron would be better and all kinds of things would be better, but I think this will make a good solid repair. And what I've done is just formed it to where it fits in that pocket right there, just like that. And we're going to braze it up. Now first I'm going to take it back out of the sandblaster, and I'm going to sandblast down the areas that are going to be brazed in this, and probably a little bit more, because we've already got quite a few places where the oil started to leach back through again. So I got a little bit of paint underneath there yet, but we're going to go ahead, sandblast those down, and get them prepped. We'll come back in and clamp it together, and we've got a little block to go in between, and that'll allow us to block it in place and lock it down. And then we'll go ahead and braze the areas where it's going back together, and we'll probably throw a little more brass down into a little more braze back down into this area here, because we've got a big pocket there. So I think we're going to have a pretty good repair on there. Now here's our bodies, sandblasted out. This is going to sit right in there just like that. We've got us a little aluminum spacer that will fit in there. It'll give us our 1/2 inch spacing. And then we've got our little clamp that we'll just clamp it all in place. So it'll clamp up there just like that. Casting was broken out on down here. That'll be inside, so we'll get a little bit of brass in there, a little bit of braze in there, and then we want to braze down inside if we can, both down in the slot on that side and a little bit on this side here, I think, too. Anyway, let's go ahead and get her set up. I think we've got a good job on there. We'll let it cool just like that and see how it turns out. I see I got it hot enough my little aluminum block was starting to melt. Things are still falling away here. Let's see if we can't. Just keep a little bit of tension on there until that cools off. And so here's my repair. Now it'll go back to just cleaning up the brazing on it. I'm going to leave the back where they welded it up before. Like I say, that's a hard. I would imagine that's a nickel rod is probably what they've used on there. So I floated a little bit of brazing rod down in between on both sides and a little bit here. And we're just going to go ahead. We're going to smooth it down. We'll do some filing on it. May take the belt sander to it or a little disc wheel to clean up that front. And we'll smooth it down. Then once we get that far, we'll take it over and we'll mark where we're going to drill it. We'll go ahead and drill through for our clearance hole. And then we can finish contouring it a little bit, take a look at it and see what it looks like. And we'll probably sandblast it off of that after that and throw some paint on it. Well, here's our repair. I think that doesn't look too bad. There's our fit up. Everything looks like it aligns really well. I'm fairly happy with that. So I think we'll get a coat of paint on it. So here's the repair, powder coated up. Now this powder coat is just actually it's my own mix. It's a gray and a light blue that I mixed together. I wanted something kind of along the lines of what was original to the new lathe that I got, or the new used lathe, or the one that I just acquired, however you want to look at it. Alright, so here's our repair. If we look close, we can see a few little pinholes where the brazing was along the bottom edge. And, we didn't really fill too much on that other side, but all in all, that's a good solid repair, I think. We'll know once we start using it a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. So anyway, that was the project for the day. The last couple of days was to get it to this point. And in the next section, we'll be building new fingers for it, whether they're solid fingers or whether we put roller fingers on it. And we'll be replacing some nuts and bolts and doing a few other little things. So hopefully you found that a little bit informative. And if you enjoyed that and haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. And any comments or suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.